This is the most important point of this entire update that was not specifically mentioned in the patch notes that I need you to understand in this video. I'm going to explain the Ancestral Tableau and the new warband related update. I'm going to explain these weapons. I will explain how properties work, how to select the properties, what each property does, and how to trigger these properties with invocations. Something to keep in mind is when you look at current bonus and max bonus, that is the Tableau individualized ranking. You do have to upgrade the Tableau separately from other people. You will do so by having warband activity. You can cap this at 1,000 activity points a week. You will acquire these points by doing things like the defense of the castle, by doing warband raids, things that are literally warband activities. Keep in mind, the easiest way to do this is by going to the warband raids and repeating the 2,000 combat rating difficulty raid over and over and over again. What I'm going to show you is one thing. Lasso itself does not allow you to repeat the same warband, even if you've done it with your warband raid, whereas all of the other ones do. We've tested this. You can, in fact, repeatedly do these warbands over and over and over again in order to consistently get 80 warband activity points, and that is the quickest way currently to farm these. Once you have these points, you will upgrade it, which will raise the ceiling of which these bonuses will be applied. What do I mean by ceiling? Well, if you have ancestral weapons, which we'll talk about how to get these in a moment, you'll equip these, and the 4 best weapons out of the 8, meaning yes, you can only do this with 4 people if you wanted, will decide your maximum bonus. Your current bonus is where you're at when you're starting, and as you upgrade the Tableau, it inches you closer towards the maximum bonus, hence raising the ceiling of your current bonus up to the maximum points of these. Keep in mind, these attributes, which will in fact go on your characters, you can see I only have 4 intelligence there. These attributes do all in fact increase your combat rating, meaning at the bonus, once we actually see the bonus here, we will have 43, that's 86. This is going to be like 210, 250-ish, almost 300 combat rating bonus just from the current weapons equipped. Because these are raised with Paragon level, the stats attributes go to the bonuses here. As Paragon level raises, we will slowly be replacing these weapons, and that will increase the overall bonus over time as the game develops as well. Now, in order to actually be able to put a weapon here, it has to have an ancestral property, or else it cannot go there. You can tell if it has an ancestral property, but it has this kind of special looking background. You can see how this yellow does not, this one does, and this orange does not, but this orange does. You can see it has this extra background. You can scroll down to the bottom and it will say ancestral property. When you have something with an ancestral property, you can go to this menu right here. I'll remove that subscribe thing. You can go right here. You can click on it, click on ancestral property, and you can see the one that has the little icon underneath it. That's your weapon. You can very easily click there, click retrieve to replace it, and put on a different one if you wanted. Whatever 4 bonuses, the best 4 would determine your max bonus. As you can see, the max bonus is lower because I replaced one of the 4th legendaries with a normal. So if I put another legendary on here, it increases the max overall bonus, which as we raise our current bonuses from the warband activity points, we will get more and more and more attributes, as well as the combat rated associated with them. Now, you can select a property based upon any of the 8 weapons that each of your warband members have selected. For instance, this is my weapon, so I could select mine, which is summon a Hydra to attack enemies. However, and I'll move my camera real quick here, so that way you can see this easier. So this one does summon attacks a Hydra, for instance. This one would damage increase by 15% for 6 seconds. This one unleashes a power, stunning people. So let's just say I wanted the one that attacks a Hydra. There, I have that one equipped. Now that's the property, but we still need to be able to trigger the property. You can tell if you can trigger a property by clicking on an item. And if you'll notice, the item will either, for instance, this reserve piece does not have one because it's an older piece from before it. But if you go to a newer one, you see this legendary does in fact have an invocation, which being attacked has a 2.5% chance to trigger an ancestral invocation, cannot occur more than once every 120 seconds for that invocation. All of your invocations will show up here. However, your weapons will not have invocations. They will have the ancestral properties that we've already talked about. The properties will not matter when they're equipped here. The properties will only matter when they're equipped here. So for that reason, don't worry about the properties. You will have 5 different invocations from all of these pieces of gear here, which will show up here. If you have multiple of the same invocation, keep in mind the trigger is increased and cooldown time decreased, meaning the percentage chance for the trigger will be increased and the overall time between those triggers will be decreased, okay? And from my understanding, these invocations are triggered individually by type of it. So if we have one that is triggered off of the 2.5% chance, and if we had another piece of gear that was, for instance, triggered when you use a buff or something, those would have separate cooldowns to trigger your actual property of, for instance, of summoning a Hydra. I did test this Hydra one, and it is actually separate from the Reforged bonuses. For instance, let me show you here which one of these is it. I have the Reforged bonuses. That's this one here. You have a 2% chance of defeating the enemy, summon the Fireball Spitting Hydra. It is the same Hydra, but it is a separate cooldown. You can have both of these Hydras active at any given time. Now, here's the part that you're going to want to pay attention to that can be somewhat confusing. These actual invocations, these are like bonus magic bonuses. You see how damage done to demons, etc. These are tied to the actual legendary item. This is the most important point of this entire update that was not specifically mentioned in the patch notes that I need you to understand in this video. These invocations, this 2.5%, if I essence transfer this, it will stay. But if I get an entirely new legendary item that has a triple step that I want to wear, the invocation that will be on that item, let's say it says 50% of the time you leave a buff, will trigger the invocation. I am now going to have that invocation. There is no library of invocations that have some kind of essence transfer. These are tied to individual legendaries. What this actually means for you, the player, is, for instance, for me, look at this one here. This is a triple row 240, really good. It does not have an invocation. The next time I get a legendary, I have to decide if I want to keep this triple row or get another legendary. You will need to replace all of your current legendary gear if you wish to now be as strong as possible with invocation. And when you replace the gear, it needs to be an upgrade, meaning you cannot get a better piece of gear that does not have an invocation and transfer invocation onto it. You will need the legendary gear from now on to have an invocation. If you are wondering the drop rate of legendary gear, you can still acquire legendary gear that does not drop with invocations. Meaning there's an additional level of RNG now to legendary gear for you to now pay attention to that is incredibly important if you choose to min-max your character. Meaning invocation is a whole nother level of like, did I get a triple row? Yes. Did I get a triple row of magic substats? And did I even get an invocation? There will be times you would decide if you're going to have maxed out combat rating gear or if you're going to go with the bonuses. This is just one point I want to make crystal clear from the beginning, okay? Overall, this means there is more depth to the game in terms of build potential. These bonuses are not all, in my personal opinion, mandatory. I want to show you some of these now. There are not that many different properties. For instance, you've seen the one of summoning a Hydra. Let me show you some of the other ones. This one, damage increased by 15% for 6 seconds, is quite good, I believe. If you look at this, unleash ancestral power, dealing 8,900 damage and stunning enemies. That is another good one. Look at this, summon a Hydra again, detonate the corpse of a random enemy. So you can either have corpse detonation on any class now. And those are the ones that we've seen so far. I haven't seen any other ones other than those currently. One other thing to keep in mind, the actual property itself is influenced by things by resonance and stats. If I go here to my gems, check this out, and I decide what I want to do is socket the gem, remove the gem. Now, when we go back to the invocation, the damage that it dealt has in fact gone down. If I decide to resocket the gem, put that back on, the damage in fact has gone up, meaning that damage for this is in fact tied to your damage stat here, which means the ancestral properties are increased by pay to win type of things. Just full transparency, that is true. One other thing I do not know is if the 66% stat reduction that happens in PvP also happens from invocation. I have directly asked Blizzard this. I have not got clarification on this yet, and I will update this in the pinned comment down below when we do have clarification on this. This is the way the items work. It means if you want the TLDR end explanation, you will need to farm entirely new legendary gear, much like when class change happened before when there wasn't essence transfer and reserve pieces, almost exactly the same way. Previous legendary items do not have invocation and there's no way to get them or essence transfer invocations on them. You will need to refarm. That's the major takeaway. Keep in mind the properties themselves seem better with resonance. seem actually quite good in my personal opinion. There's ones like Stunning for 3 seconds. There is Summoning a Hydra. Pretty cool. There's more depth to the game, and there's more things to talk about in terms of actual content, etc. that come to the game. But this video is just to cover the tableau, etc. You're going to want to do your warband activities, and you're going to want to repeat probably your easiest raid that you can do over and over and over again just to get those 80 activity points. You get 1,000 points a week to upgrade your tableau, which is what I was showing here. And that tableau, here's another kind of good part out of this. This means hundreds of free combat rating now. You can now get hundreds of combat rating for free. So if you're a free-to-play player, this is actually quite a big buff as well. So there is a couple good things in here, a couple scary things in here, but that is the way the system works. If you guys appreciated the breakdown, give me a subscription, like the video if you would like, and I'll see you on the next video.